Hello everyone, this is part 33 of What If Naruto Was Trained by the Kyuubi, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. It was finally over, after an entire year of endless battles. The fourth Shinobi War was over. It was funny really. Because the very person who said the Kiko alliance would continue to fight even if he was ked, was the cause of the complete crumble of the alliance. The news of his death spread like wildfire throughout both sides of the conflict, the death of the Otokage, the legendary snake Sanin Orochimaru. Said news at first wasn't believed by the Kiko alliance, but was certainly proven to be true once Mitarashi Anko came into the field of battle with Orochimaru's legendary, Kusanagi, by her side. This loss, both in strength and morale, coinciding with the past retreat of Kumo after their raikage was given to them, caused any and all hope, and vitality to continue fighting drain away. With the news of the two Kage's deaths ringing in their ears, as well as the re-entry of Naruto and his comrades, the Tsuchikage and Mizukage knew their chances of winning were drastically dwindling, and decided to bow out, calling for their respective shinobi to retreat back home. When Konoha, Suna, and Whirlpool Shinobi were about to give chase at the retreating shinobi, they were surprised to find two scrolls with the insignias of the Tsuchikage and Mizukage. The scrolls contained their terms of surrender to Konoha. With these scrolls, the shinobi of Oto scattering the moment Orochimaru was heard to be and the deal they made with Kumo, the fourth shinobi war was declared over. That very night after the borders of Fire Country were declared secure, all the gathered shinobi for Konoha, Suna, and Whirlpool decided they couldn't wait to get home before they celebrated the underdog victory. And despite the blood of their comrades and enemies still wet upon the earth, they celebrated throughout the entire night. Not only for those who survived, but for those who did not by sacrificing their lives for their homes and freedom. For this reason only were the generals understanding in the celebration and allowed it to occur throughout the entire base camp. Of course they kept sentinels posted in case of a sneak attack, couldn't be too careful after all. Nonetheless, every other shinobi and kunoichi alike celebrated their victory throughout the long hours of the night and early morning. That afternoon. Ugh. My head, Anko groaned, leaning her head in her hand, a grimace evident on her face. The Yuki Kunoichi sat up and looked around, letting her eyes focus on her surroundings, noticing she was in a large green tent with several beds. Ah, finally awake, I see, Anko-chan. A mirthful voice called out to her. She turned, and when her eyes focused again she saw Naruto cleaning, Sautenkase, on his lap while sitting on the edge of his bed. Could you keep it down please? She grimaced. How long was I out? And where are we? Damn Anko-chan, you really overdid it, can't even remember anything about last night. Another voice chuckled. Cram it, Hana-chan. I'm not in the mood. Besides, it was a celebration, wasn't it? She snapped back, watching the Inuzuka walking over before sitting on her designated bed. It was, but all you did was simple binge drinking. You're lucky Naruto-kun abstained and kept a watchful eye on us. He had to take care of a few guys from Konoha who were eyeing you like a slab of meat the way you were acting. I guess they only now realized what a catch you were when you returned from Yuki, and tried to take advantage of a situation. She responded. All Anko's hangover pain vanished for a minute as Hana's words registered, and she lifted her head to see Naruto's own looking down towards the shining blade in his lap. Arigato whiskers, she apologized, with a thankful smile even though he couldn't see it. Naruto stopped his hands for a moment, and simply grunted before going back to work. His response making Anko's smile grow. After 3 years with him she had learned to translate his non-verbal responses, this particular one meaning, Sock, I always got your back. She turned towards Hana, and saw her disheveled appearance, making her quirk a brow. And what about you? You look like you put down more than a few yourself, she inquired, with a smirk despite her hangover coming back. She snorted. Just because I scolded you about drinking so much doesn't mean I didn't celebrate myself, you know. I had a lot of fun with some people last night, she answered, before hearing a low growl emanate from Naruto, and laughed lightly at his jealousy. Oh, don't be like that, Naru-kun. You know what we have is stronger than what anyone else can break. Besides, those people were my family. I haven't seen them in 3 years, so I wanted to catch up. She explained, and chuckled more along with Anko, since they both saw the slight blush of embarrassment on Naruto's cheeks as he pretended not to notice while cleaning the blade. I enjoy teasing Naru-kun as much as his next mate, but could you not be so loud about it? A new voice groggily asked. Argumen Natsumi-chan. Hana responded, before she and Anko saw the red-haired demoness emerge from behind Naruto when she sat up from his bed. It's all right. I slept enough anyway, I just prefer to wake up naturally. She yawned out, before leaning over and giving Naruto a peck on the cheek. Any Naru-kun mind cleaning, Shinku Kaijin, while you're at it? She requested. Yay, sure Natsu-chan. He answered, earning another kiss. She got up and stretched out the kinks she gained from sleep, her body twisting this way and that, which in certain positions accentuated certain parts of her body, which would give Jiraiya enough research for an entire book. She sighed out contentedly after her bones pleasantly cracked back into place, before changing into her shinobi gear, with Anko thinking that was a good idea and doing the same. Several minutes passed as each of them did their own thing, before the tent flaps opened and Yugito entered with a large wheeled table filled with food. Damn Yugito-chan, I don't think Naru-kun meant that much food. Hana said, stunned, making the blonde smile sheepishly. Gomen, Car-san always told me, better to have it and not need it, than need it and not have it. Besides, I figured he'd be more hungry than usual considering he had to go all the way to Kumo and back to return Akiko-chan. She responded, making those who heard her rolls their eyes. Arigato Yu-chan. Naruto thanked, as he pulled the table into the middle of the tent, making her smile brightly, before sitting down on one of the beds, as they all began to dig into their late breakfast. It had only been about 15 minutes after they had begun eating, before another person entered the tent, which made them all quirk a brow. Gomen boss, but they wanted to speak with you. Naruto's clone said. Naruto waved the clone off, and a moment later 2 people entered the tent, the group looking on expectantly before seeing who it was and smiled, allowing themselves to relax again. Hey Car-san, Ototo. Naruto greeted, with a s of bacon hanging from his mouth, which only made Chum shake her head. You know Naruto-kun, if you were adopted by us, that wouldn't fly in my house. She scolded with a smile, making him laugh. Gomen. He apologized, eating the hanging meat, before motioning them to sit. What makes you come all the way out here? He questioned. What, we can't visit my Ne-chan, Ni-chan, and his hot lass? Kiba scoffed, before getting playfully smacked in the head. Hey, what was that for? He shouted, despite the blush on his cheeks from being surrounded by some of the most gorgeous women H's ever laid eyes on. Because we aren't just eye candy. Anko explained playfully. Besides, I'm just Whiskers' good friend. She finished, giving him a sultry smile that made him rather hot under the collar. Mama, stop teasing my Ototo, Anko-chan, you'd think you'd get enough of your fix back home. Naruto scolded, while chuckling at Kiba's expense, with Anko just grinning like a Cheshire cat. Well, I brought all this food, so let's not let it go to waste. Yugito spoke up, getting vigorous nods from all those present. Another 30 minutes passed as the group ate, laughed, and talked about all the goings-on for the past 3 years. Unfortunately, their time was cut short, when yet another clone entered the tent and interrupted them. Gomen boss, but an Anbu officer wants to see you. The clone spoke up. Naruto waved the clone off once again, and awaited the Anbu to enter. The armor-clad individual entered shortly after with an owl mask on, and surveyed the occupants before stopping upon Chum. Inazuka-san, if you're here, I assume that they already know about the meeting with the generals. The man questioned, getting quirked brows from all but whom he addressed. I haven't had a chance to know, but I'll do it now. Chum answered, before turning back towards Naruto with a guilty expression. Gomen, I just wanted to spend some quality time with you before I told you. She explained. It's alright, Car-san, I'm sure we'd have rather had it that way too. Hana answered for the group, who simply nodded in agreement, making Chum smile in appreciation. Well, to explain, during the celebration the generals, as well as the rest of the Konoha's council who was secretly escorted here, held a meeting. And one of the main topics of discussion was you. She explained, looking at each of the snow shinobi. Do you have any idea why they want this meeting with us? Natsumi questioned with a hardened gaze, which only got more so when Chum shook her head. We only discussed wanting to speak to you again, but specifically about what was never spoken about. She explained. I have a feeling I know. I have a feeling we all know. Yugito spoke up, getting slight nods from her comrades. Very well, Naruto said, getting up from his seat, and looked at the ANBU, who unconsciously tensed at his movement. Tell whoever is calling this meeting we'll be there in 15 minutes. He ordered, getting a slight nod from the Anbu before he disappeared in a swirl of leaves. All right, let's get ready. I want us ready to go back to Yuki when we leave the tent. I'm not taking any chances. He ordered, getting affirmative nods from the girls, before Chum and a reluctant Kiba left the tent for their privacy. The 15 minutes passed soon enough and Naruto and the girls exited the tent garbed in exactly what they were wearing when they entered the war. Well, aside from Yugito, who still had to borrow some of Hana's clothing until they returned to Snow. Let's go, he ordered, seeing that the same Anbu officer there, apparently sent back to escort him to the designated place. Outside General's tent, the group silently followed the Anbu officer while traversing the camp, before soon finding their way to the small clearing which was in front of the General's tent. Upon getting closer, they noticed that the entire Konoha Council Sonschum, along with several famous Junin from all three countries, a few Anbu officers, and finally all 5 generals were outside of the tent to greet them. Once the group got close enough, their escort shunshined away before reappearing next to his peers. A long pause encompassed the area when Naruto's group stopped and the two groups simply stared at each other, that is until Tsunade took a step forward and let a smile grace her lips. Arigato for coming on such short notice, she welcomed in a warm tone. Like we had a choice, Yugito whispered harshly under her breath, though purposely loud enough for all to hear, making Tsunade frown. Hi, well, she responded with a forced cough, pretending to ignore the blonde's comment. Quote. I'm glad you came. We have much to discuss, she explained, getting a little bit of her warm tone back. Forgive my rudeness, Hokage-sama, but could we perhaps move past the pleasantries and get right down to the reason you wished to see us? Hana spoke up, keeping some slight respect for the leader she once followed. Ah, right, well, what Hokage-sama is trying to say is we would like to talk to you about, once again coming back to Konoha. Homura stated, interrupting the seemingly unprepared and fumbling Kage, and made the group quirk a brow at his words. I do believe we've already discussed this, several times in fact. And even after 3 years those reasons and our decision have not changed. Naruto answered, only getting whispered murmurs from the council. Perhaps, but we still wish to try to gain back the Sochi of the Yondaime Hokage, and savior of the village. Hearing this, Naruto narrowed his eyes, and was about to open his mouth when a familiar voice rang throughout his mind. Let's see what they have to say, Naru-kun. Natsu-chan, he questioned, taken aback she was actually allowing this. At the very least we'll see if 3 years has seriously changed any of their minds. I'd rather not waste the time, but very well. He conceded. Speak, Naruto ordered, with little hint of patience, which not only surprised Tsunade, the rest of the council, but Naruto's group as well, that is before he raised a placating hand effectively calming them. Arigato Namikaze-sama, Koharu thanked before clearing her tea with a cough. We of the Council of Konoha wish to once again invite you, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. Sochi of the late Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato. Last of the Namikaze clan, sole wielder of their Kekkei Genkai, and Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Mitarashi Anko, first student of the Snake Sanin Orochimaru. One of the only remaining 2 holders of the snake summoning contract, and ex-Tokubutsu Junin of Konoha's Tea and Interrogation Department. Hana Inuzuka, Musumi of the current council member representing the Inuzuka clan, and said clan's current head Inuzuka Chum. Ex-Inuzuka clan heiress, and Chunin veterinarian. Ni Yugito, Genin of Kumo, and the Jinchuriki of the Nibi no Nekomata. And finally Natsumi, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the queen of all demons. To join the citizen as well as shinobi ranks of Konoha and Fire Country. She proclaimed almost as if she was reading from her SCST. As incentive to join back, the promises made in prior discussions of the topic will be implemented. Also all of you will be given the same ranking as when you left from your respective villages. The only exceptions are Niyugito and Natsumi, who would automatically be promoted to either Junin, Hunter Nin, or Anbu rank depending on their choice, and Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, who if so chooses will become the Rokudaime Hokage upon Tsunade-sama's eventual retirement, to allow him to follow in his two sons' footsteps in protecting the village. Moreover, if you agree to this Namikaze-sama, you will be given back all your clan rights, privileges, land and council seat, as well as a hefty monetary bonus to not only keep you economically afloat, but also in preparations for when you begin to start rebuilding your clan, whenever that may be. She finished, seeming to put all of Konoha's cards on the table, hoping that the pot was sweet enough to make Naruto and his companions bite. A pregnant pause passed throughout the area, as the council looked on at Naruto and his comrades, who appeared to be thinking it over. "That's quite the generous offer you have," Naruto stated finally, making several of the council members smile. "A little too generous if you ask me." He continued before pausing, now getting confused and stunned looks on the council members. "You are too desperate to get us, and me more so, back. To give us all of this just to come back. You obviously have great expectations for us if we were to do so. And I would like to hear them, since you didn't relinquish them willingly." He finished, nearly ordering the last part of his sentence. "We don't know what you mean," Homura lied, while taking over for his old teammate. "However, that wasn't all we were offering Namikaze-sama. Know that if you do agree to return, the Ciara will be enacted for the Namikaze clan, however specific stipulations concerning your situation will be addressed. More specifically, Konoha will recognize the fact that both Natsumi and Inuzuka Hana will be your first two wives. That being the case, we will require 3 more women who have already been picked become your last 3, Hyuga Hinata, the current heiress of the Hyuga clan, Yamanaka Ino, current heiress of the Yamanaka clan, and finally Haruno Sakura, who while not being from a shinobi clan, has been the apprentice of Tsunade-sama for the last 3 years. Before you object to this, however, I wish to inform you that these last 3 marriages are more so political and bonding than anything. We simply wish for you and your comrades to mingle with the rest of the clans and citizenry, and feel that this is a good starting opportunity. In the past we've found this to be the best way for the clans and citizens to make bonds peacefully, which will hopefully be long-lasting. These women know that you do no love them now, and have still accepted this proposal for the sake of Konoha. However, we do hope that someday you will grace them with the same love and adoration that you obviously do with your first 2 wives." He finished, hoping that like most men, Naruto would silently enjoy even more women for himself, even if he didn't love them. After all, love isn't always needed in the bedroom. "Of course you don't know what I mean," Naruto retorted with a smirk, seeing many of the council members beginning to sweat and fidget slightly at the situation. "And as far as the Ciara concerning the Namikaze clan, I'm afraid I'll have to decline, despite its advantageous results, for some anyway. Now please answer my question. Why are you going through such great lengths that you'd even be willing to S3 young women to me just to gain back my loyalty?" "You're right, Naruto-kun," Tsunade spoke up almost on unconscious impulse. "Tsunade, what are you doing?" Koharu hissed out lowly. "What we should have done," she answered back harshly. "You're right, Naruto-kun. We do need you back. No. We want you back. What this village has done to you, done to all but one of you, is horrible beyond compare. If what I saw of his memories is only part of what you all have been through throughout your respective lives. I lost an Ototo, and a Koibito to this village, and even that can't compare to a lot of what I've come to witness. Gomenasai, from the bottom of my heart, Gomen, but I know that saying sorry for the actions of my village can't and won't be enough for you to forgive. But even so, can none of you find it in your hearts? Maybe not forgive now, but at least give Konoha and her people a chance to make things right. For once, I realize this is asking much, especially knowing how jaded Konoha has made you towards it. But do we still not deserve a second chance to make up for all the pain we've caused you? How are we supposed to make amends if you aren't willing to give us the opportunity to prove that we are truly sorry for our past actions, and hope that our actions now and in the future may allow us the chance to be rightfully forgiven for our past?" She questioned, foregoing the idea that she should act with dignity as the Hokage, and let her emotions pour through her words, which seemed to not only ask for the chance for the village to be forgiven but herself and her past actions, or as the case may be, inactions towards her godson. "Will you not ever consider it? Jiraiya spoke up after he moved forward and embraced his longtime teammate. Will you stay forever jagged towards those who've harmed you in the past even when they beg you for a chance to prove they've changed? He questioned. I know I really have no right to speak, especially after my own participation or lack thereof in Naruto's life when he was a boy. But is there really no chance at reconciliation? I want to know my godson. I want to know what he likes, what he hates, his hobbies, his dreams, all the things I've missed out on because I was being a selfish man beyond compare years ago. Will you never give Konoha, and those who've wronged you a chance to prove our own redemption? He concluded, now himself letting his emotions show, as he looked at the man Naruto was, and feel nothing but guilt that he brushed aside his chance to get to know and teach such a strong, handsome, and honorable man. Naruto just looked at the crying pair, and then surveyed the rest of the people standing before him who seemed to be waiting for his response with bated breath. You ask for the impossible, he suddenly stated, his words cutting through them like a sword, which made Jiraiya and Tsunade cry harder. Nays, why do you deny your destiny even now, Namikaze-sama? Homura questioned, clearly puzzled. You're the Sochi of Fire Country's greatest shinobi, and strongest Hokage. The very same man whom sealed that woman into you to protect the village from her mouse actions. Do you not understand your destiny? You belong in Konoha, not Yuki, you belong with your people, the people of Fire Country, to continue what your Two-san started, the destiny of a protector, the defender of Konoha. And now we are giving you the power to do so on a silver platter, all you have to do is soar high. Yet you decline, turn your head away from this destiny, your Two-san's legacy. Nays. Because. Naruto sighed out, while holding back his anger that the job on Natsume's reasons for attacking Konoha. The villagers, the very people whom you seem to believe I have some sort of cosmic connection with have, burned, bruised, espered, spit, poisoned, starved, demonized, and hated that very destiny out of me. You all say that you're sorry for your past actions. And I know you are. But that's only because of the power and control you've seen me use and am capable of using. You're only sorry because you want something from me. Because you're afraid of the power I have which I've pledged loyally to another village. And not your own. If I was weak and powerless like I was in the past. None of you would give a damn about me presently. Just like you didn't give a damn about me when I was a helpless child being TD by my own people. You all knew from the very start what you were doing to me, whether it was out of blind rage that you didn't notice you were also hurting an innocent boy while trying to reach the Kyuubi, or you were just so callous and selfish about your own ends that you didn't care. But either way you still knew and you still attacked me. It didn't matter that I begged for you to stop, that I cried for mercy, that I screamed I was innocent. It didn't matter that if not for the Kyuubi itself I'd have gone insane. You people want me back so badly that you will bestow upon myself and my comrades all these lavish gifts, to gain back our loyalty and strength, when it is your own hands that pushed me away, that drove me away from my destiny. I imagine that had I been treated the way I should have, I'd have fought and SD to protect Konoha much like my Two-san did, but that isn't possible any longer and you truly only have yourselves to blame for that. He concluded. So that's it then, almost 10 years after the fact you still won't forgive us? Jiraiya questioned, a small amount of saddened frustration echoing in his voice. You would like that, would you? For me to just forgive and forget? To play the ignorant man, while I live in a village who scorned my existence since my first breath? To forget that you, my Kyufu, godfather, and Tsunade, my Kyubo, godmother, had ignored me for all but 2 years of my life? Gomen Jiraiya, that isn't how things work, and to prove my point. Quote. He pointed at Jiraiya specifically. If Orochimaru was still alive, had TD and Ked either Tsunade or Oji-san right in front of your eyes, and then by some twist of fate was rendered powerless in front of you and begged for forgiveness. Would you forgive him and give him a second chance? Could you forgive him? He questioned before pointing to the rest of the council, and Kushina. As for you, over a decade has passed since Kyuubi's attack on the village, and all the loved ones lost that night. If Kyuubi was right in front of you, powerless and begging for forgiveness and a second chance to make things right, would you forgive its past actions? Could you? He questioned loudly so all of them could hear him. Naruto passed his eyes several times across the collected group, and saw several expressions cross their faces multiple times, as well as several hidden ones that he could really only know because he could literally smell the feelings rolling off them slightly. After a long minute to give them time to answer, he spoke up again. Now you see why I choose not to forgive nor forget. I simply tolerate. If I didn't do that, I'd have probably trained with Natsu-chan for the sole purpose of eradicating you, the village, and all of Fire Country off the face of the map. Which technically I still can, but truthfully I have no motivation to. My vengeance has been quelled by the people who truly care for me. Plus I actually enjoy Fire Country. Konoha however is another story entirely, well aside from a certain ramen stand, and clan anyway. He finished. Namikaze-sama. A new voice from an unknown civilian council member spoke up. That is, we would forgive the Kyuubi for what it has done. She explained, getting a quirked brow from the Hanyu. Really now? He inquired, sarcasm deeping from his voice, knowing full well she was lying since he could smell the rage on nearly all of them when he initially posed the situation to them. Hi. As you said, it's been over a decade since the attack, and despite the great losses we suffered, we are still alive, and by being so can honor our fallen loved ones' memories by not living in the past, but by enjoying the life we still have after that day, something they no longer can. She explained with a genuine sounding tone, despite her clear lie. Naruto smiled at the councilwoman, before speaking again. Well, I certainly applaud you for being able to lie with such compassion and keep a straight face. I'm sure your loved ones must proud of you. What do you mean I'm not lying? She almost squeaked out, knowing she had somehow been caught but being unable to back down now. Now, no need to keep the charade up. I could smell the anger rolling off most of you when I mentioned the Kyuubi being at your mercy. You don't need to hide the fact you still wish for vengeance, it's why I asked the question in the first place. However, that also reinforces my not wanting to come back. He explained, seeing the councilwoman and many others gobsmacked. So you do not wish come back to Konoha? Koharu questioned, getting nods from not only Naruto but all the snow shinobi. And you will remain loyal to Yuki as part of her military? She questioned once more, again getting nods of affirmation. Do you know if the Yukikage would now be willing to consider an alliance with Konoha and Fire Country? At the answer to this question, however, she narrowed her eyes when Naruto shook his head negatively. I see, she whispered out, before a snapping sound could be heard coming from Homura. A moment after the snap occurred, several totem pole-like wooden beams shot out of the ground around Naruto, Natsumi, and Yugito. The wooden poles SN themselves around the three before the ferocious-looking faces carved into them opened their maws and dug their teeth into the of the bound shinobi. Hana and Anko had already grabbed the kunai ready to get their friends free, but stopped when they felt blades scratching at the skin of their jugulars. By the time all the snow shinobi were subdued, everyone but the Konoha Council Sans Chum looked stunned and confused, having no idea of what was going on. What the hell is this? Chum shouted, seeing two of her family members either bound by some strange jutsu, or having a katana blade threatening to open their military strategy, and self-preservation. Homura said bluntly, making everyone turn their heads towards him. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Homura, Tsunade, now over her crying fit and shock at the sudden attack, shouted in rage. It's quite simple, Tsunade. Surprisingly, Naruto's calm voice was the one to answer, turning everyone's back to him, and all but the Konoha Council cringe at his bleeding form as the totems dug deeper into his It's as he said, self-preservation, and military strategy. It was probably the Council's backup plan in case the situation went as it had played out. I'm sure their thoughts on the subject of myself and my comrades were, if they couldn't get us to join Konoha, or at least get Yuki to ally, they wouldn't at the very least allow us to become an enemy. And with me answering that an alliance between Yuki and you wouldn't occur, they knew they had nothing to lose by trying to capture us right now. He explained, getting shocked expressions from all but the council and Gaara, who only narrowed his eyes slightly, as the cork on his gourd silently popped off. Please don't do anything rash, Kazekage-sama. Koharu said, not even chancing a glance at the redhead, knowing he would try something to help Naruto. We have no intention of keeping whatever we can gain from this to ourselves. Suna and Whirlpool will both gain something, we are allies after all. She explained, hoping to subdue the tension from the Suna and Whirlpool shinobi. It is as you've stated, Namikaze-san. Homura confirmed, dropping the higher honorific considering their little game was discovered and walked forward until he was only a foot away from the Hanyu. You really should have taken our offer, it was far too generous for you. But still you let it slip through your fingers, he stated before harshly backhanding Naruto across the face. And for what? A weak, isolated country, that can't give you half of what we could have? He rhetorically questioned, grabbing Naruto's chin harshly twisting his face this way and that as if examining him like a prized dog. That's okay though, in the end Konoha will get what we want. And that's all that really matters. He paused, with a smirk patting Naruto's cheek tauntingly. Believe it or not, I don't care what is always inside you, whether you were or a demon. All I care about is the strength you possess and the precious Kekkei Genkai of the Namikas and Uzumaki you hold within your veins. Had you simply forgotten what those bigoted and idiotic villagers did to you, you could have lived in the village with the backing of every shinobi as the Rokudaime, a kami amongst mortals. He finished, but whispered his last sentence to Naruto alone. This is treason. Tsunade growled out angrily, while also inwardly worried over the implications this foolishness will have. Perhaps it is in the eyes of the Hokage, Koharu said, turning to the enraged woman. But seeing the feelings you've portrayed towards him. The council knew you couldn't do what was necessary in the interest and protection of Konoha and her allies if it came to this. So in this regard we believe that Danzo-san was indeed correct when it came to Sarutobi-san, and now yourself. Therefore we took actions into our own hands after the council meeting last night and decided that if we couldn't get Namikaze-san and his comrades to join us willingly, then we'd have no choice but to capture them as P and take them back to Konoha as a result. She explained before, turning towards Naruto and smiled a grandmotherly smile. We really need to thank you though Namikaze-san, had you not come back to help us, we may have never found out where you've been all this time. You'll never get away with this. Jiraiya growled out. We shall see, the Hokage may be known to have the power in the dictatorship that rules our hidden village. But without the support of its council and transversely the most powerful clans of shinobi and civilians, the Hokage can be at most a political figurehead. And as you can see, nearly all of the council has agreed to what we are doing. She smirked, knowing that it was really only the Inuzuka who were out of the loop, considering their close background with the Namikas, so they simply left Chum out of the council's plans altogether. Jiraiya clenched his teeth and fists in anger, while Tsunade cursed under her breath, both knowing that what she said was true. Politics are a slippery game, only those with a quick wit, sharp mind, and a tongue of silver could ever succeed. Even the strongest of shinobi could be left powerless in the face of politicians. What are you planning on doing with them? Kushina finally spoke up after getting tired of listening, her own hands twitching from wanting to grab Zenu. Homura looked over his shoulder towards the Uzumaki clan head, her children standing behind her. Valios with a smug smirk, Kyoshiro with a nonchalant expression, and Kasumi with an angry and worried look at what they were watching happen before them. I'm surprised you care enough to ask considering you were one of the major causes of his unhappy life in the village, as well as being his most outspoken advocate for deaths. But if you wish to know what will happen to him for some sick satisfaction, I don't mind divulging the information. He will be put under a medically induced coma and used as breeding stock for selected women to revive the Namikaze Kekkei Genkai, that is of course until there are enough children old enough so he can teach them the Hiraishin no Jutsu. After that you will finally get your wish Uzumaki-san. Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto will be executed as an enemy of Konoha. Your Sochi's soul will finally be free. He explained, turning back quickly towards Naruto with a smirk while failing to see the guilt, shame, and self-hatred in Kushina's face at being remembered of her stupid and selfish past actions towards her son. I guess you were wrong Namikaze-san. He whispered so only Naruto could hear. The Council of Konoha can force you to, how did you phrase it again? Hop around our village and F anything that is fertile and has AV so the village you're not even a real part of has your Kekkei Genkai. Quote. Ah yes, that was it. He said smugly, getting Naruto to growl at him, before he turned back to the slightly shaking Kushina. As for the rest of them, Inuzuka-san, if she so desires may return to her clan, although the boy will still remain clan heir, and will be given her rank from before. Mitarashi-san will give up ownership of the Kusanagi to Uchiha Sasuke, and simply continue her superb work as an interrogator. Ni-san will join our Anbu, and do any of the unsuccessful missions our other Anbu have failed. After all, with her Biju it should be no problem for her. As for Kyuubi, we can have her teach Arjunin the ancient jutsu she knows. Of course, if any of them resist the orders they are given, Namikaze-san here will get the punishment instead, since I noticed how close they all are to him. Of course, the opposite will apply as well in case Namikaze-san thinks of disobeying. With that incentive in mind, I doubt they will resist. He concluded, getting several death glares from said women. I will never allow this to happen, Homura. Do you hear me? I will never let this occur, Konoha Council or no. Tsunade threatened. Oh, Gomenasai Hokage-sama, I forgot about you. But now that you reminded me, the punishment for disobeying the council's orders will occur not only for the 4 Kunoichi and Namikaze-san as I mentioned, but yourself, Jiraiya-san, and any of the Inuzuka clan should any of you try to play hero. So I suggest you reconsider that last statement of yours unless you want your godson to lose his life abruptly, Kekkei Genkai or no. We are doing this for the preservation and protection of Konoha, so do not think that his Kekkei Genkai will give him immunity to our punishments. He threatened. Hearing this, Tsunade calmed quickly, lowered her fists to her sides, as her face fell towards the ground. What can we do? She whispered worriedly to Jiraiya, hoping her teammate could come up with something. Nothing, if we want him to live past the hour. He whispered back. Well now, Naruto spoke up, getting the attention back on him. Quote, I must say this plan of yours is much more meticulous than I thought it was. He conceded, which made several of the council members smirk smugly. However, you seem to have made the same mistake that Orochimaru did when he fought me. Oh, and what might that be? Hiashi, who decided to stay silent until then, spoke out. In truth, it was Hiashi who spearheaded this little plan, and with his political clout and the strongest clan in Konoha at his beck and call, the remaining clans followed with little resistance, especially when it came to the possible gains the plan held for Konoha and Fire Country as a whole. Naruto's little outburst damaged the Hyuga head's pride, which to a Hyuga was even more important than their life, which is why Hiashi decided to speak. Simple really, that despite his vast knowledge on Biju and Jinchuriki, he never realized that Hanyas such as myself, when absorbing their respective demons' chakra, is converted to less dense demon chakra, negating much of its demonic properties. He explained, pausing in mid-sentence, with an evil smirk as he saw many of the shinobi come to realize what he meant. Meaning that the ability of the Shodaime Hokage, that Yamato-san is using against me, is doing nothing but stopping me from converting the 4 tails of demonic chakra Natsu-chan is currently using into my own. He explained for those who didn't get it, before the totems were sped to shreds by his tails, and several puffs of smoke appeared throughout the clearing. For the council everything was going according to plan, and they could almost drool at the sheer power they'd have once Naruto was under lock at key in Konoha. Then all hell broke loose when Naruto's binds shattered, and smoke pervaded the area, causing everyone to lose their bearings. When the smoke finally dissipated, it seemed that the tables had drastically turned. The Anbu officers which had been holding Anko and Hana hostage were now on the ground, their trip sped open by what appeared to be claws. Meanwhile, the wooden totems that held Yugito and Natsumi were scattered on the earth, completely shredded. And finally, behind every single council member but Chum, there was a Naruto clone with their claws pressing dangerously into their NSW. What the hell is going on? How did you break free? Hiashi shouted at Naruto as his comrades walked up to stand next to him. I believe that I already explained that the Shodaime's Kekkei Genkai doesn't work on Hanyas. Or at least in the manner in which Konoha is accustomed to. As for what's going on, I believe the term is checkmate, he stated with a satisfied smile, while all but the council members looked on gobsmacked about what just happened in the span of about 15 seconds. Arigato for the help, Yamato-san. He finished, now seeing Yamato come out from the back of the crowd with a friendly smile and a nod, making people even more confused than before, especially see Tsunade's famous N-lace DRD around his N. Mind explaining, Naru-kun? Natsumi asked with a stern expression, making him smile sheepishly. Ah, Gumen. Well, it's basically like this. The moment the Anbu officer came to the tent, I knew something was going on. So in that 15 minutes I asked to get ready, I created a couple clones. I sent one to Yamato-san, who after telling me the council's plans which involved him using the amplifying powers of Tsunad's Enlace for his Kekkei Genkai to keep the three of us in check, decided to help me with my own plan. The other I sent to go fetch something, which should be here shortly. He explained. That's why I couldn't find my Enlace this morning, they stole it while I was drinking. Tsunade roared in her head at the audacity of her counsel. And you didn't tell us the plan, why? Yugito hissed out, not liking that she didn't know, especially since she was forced to endure the uncomfortable, chakra-draining, ability which Yamato possessed. Gomen, but I needed your reactions to be genuine so they wouldn't suspect anything. But I also told Yamato-san to only drain away enough chakra to keep you bound. He explained, getting narrowed eyes, and flippant grunts in response. So, you knew of our plans this entire time and simply goaded us on. Homura rhetorically questioned angrily. Of course. I told you I don't trust Konoha, and when we are called to a meeting so suddenly by that very village while inside their own homeland right after a war broke out not 24 hours prior. Well, I wouldn't go into that situation without my own insurances in place. So I goaded you this entire time, but really you shouldn't be worried about me anymore. Quote. He paused, before pointing to each of the council's sides where they saw a group of rather irate Suna shinobi, Uzumaki clan head and heiress, and remaining Sannin. Quote. Tsunade, I'll leave their fates to you. I've washed my hands of Konoha long ago to still deal with their treason, however I expect for this situation to be dealt with, accordingly. He concluded, which made Tsunade's angered expression turn into a masochistic grin. You heard him, she said before snapping her fingers, and several Anbu officers took the council members from the grasp of the clones, before she looked at Ibiki with the same grin gracing her lips. Make sure you have a lot of fun with them when we get back to Konoha, Ibiki-san, no restrictions. She ordered, which now made him mirror her expression, before nodding. The Anbu officers along with Ibiki and the Konoha Junin as escorts left, to bring the traitors to prison until it was time for the fun with Konoha's premier interrogator. Morino Ibiki. Once the group was out of sight, everyone else crowded together more. Naruto. Jiraiya spoke up but his tone denoted apprehension and slight fear, which surprised most who heard him. Why? You know we had nothing to do with that, right? He questioned. Hi. I know you didn't, my senses could pick up the differences in your reactions versus those who knows about the council. I'm sure Natsu-chan noticed it too, but dismissed it for the more urgent matters at hand. He answered, mentally chuckling to himself at seeing both his godparents let out a silent sigh of relief. Will you hold that against us? Tsunade questioned, thoughts of the effects this incident could have running through her head a mile a minute. Of course not. I just said you had nothing to do with it, did I not? He chuckled. So what now? She questioned hesitantly. What? Finally going to stop trying to get me to come back to the village? He asked sarcastically. Is there a point anymore? She questioned, though more to herself than him. This village and its people, myself and Jiraiya included, have done nothing but make your life worse by being in it. Or not, as our case may be. Don't get me wrong, we want you back in Konoha, your birthplace. But after this incident we finally realized this is a wish we will never get to have granted, because of either the village's feelings towards you or you towards it. Plus you seem to be content, even happy in Yuki as a snow shinobi. So who are we, those who've only made your life miserable since you were born? To ask you to leave that happiness. We've been stupid and selfish every step of the way when it came to you. And if we truly wish to make amends for those actions against you, the first thing we should do is to allow you to live your life in any semblance of happiness you can, even if that means not returning to Konoha. We want you back, Naruto-kun, so we could be the family that we never were for you in the past and perhaps in the future be forgiven for our foolish actions, but after today I realize it isn't be possible. She answered, as tears rimmed her eyes once more. If only you two had come to Konoha when I was a child and said those kinds of words to me. He thought with a shadow of a smile pulling at his lips. You're right. Konoha is my past, and I plan to keep it that way. He answered, before looking towards the others around. And how do you feel about this, Gaara? He asked his long-time brother. Whatever makes you happy, brother. The Kage smiled, getting affirming nods from Temari, Kankuro, and Baki. Naruto smiled and nodded back, knowing Gaara and his family would understand and give their blessing. He looked towards the last group, his smiling faltering, before he spoke. And you? He questioned, towards the Whirlpool Shinobi, though more specifically towards Kushina, her children, and the rest of the Uzumaki clan whom glared at him. What right do I have to speak my opinion concerning you? Kushina spoke solemnly, not being able to make eye contact. Quote, I abandoned you as a boy no older than 2 before I threw you to those wolves called villages. And only chose to return in your life with my other children, your Tanekage, step-siblings, with a mission to end your life. She finished, shame de-sping off her tongue. That is true you did. It's because you aren't her Sochi anymore demon. One of the Uzumaki members interrupted with a shout from the back, gaining hateful glares from Kasumi and Kushina, the latter about to shout at him before Naruto's voice cut her off. You're correct. I'm no longer her Sochi and I am a demon. At least partially. He agreed, making Kushina's heart cry, and her face contort to one of supreme sadness. She gave up her parental right to call me her Sochi the moment she discarded me. But to still hate her for abandoning me over a decade ago would make me just as bad as the village still demonizing me for only containing Natsu-chan, and you for thinking I'm the Kyuubi itself. I may never forgive her for her actions back then, but at the very least I try to move past it so that I can live a life of what little happiness I can find, he explained, seeing Kushina with sad tears rimming her eyes since he hadn't forgiven her. Not that she would blame him, but also the faintest signs of a smile on her lips, for the fact that he at least didn't hate her anymore. Even so, are you going to continue keeping your secret encounters with your Imuoto a secret from her family? She questioned with a smug smile despite her expression moments ago, especially after seeing everyone's reactions, though more importantly Kasumi and Naruto's. What? You thought I wouldn't eventually find out? The clues were there, it simply took me some time to piece them together. Kasumi's late night training, always outside the compound. Her verbally defending you whenever someone bad-mouthed you. And it doesn't help that she keeps that kunai of yours with her almost every waking moment. I simply put 2 and 2, as well as a few events before and even during this battle together to figure it out. She explained, now getting an embarrassed blush from Kasumi, and an almost unrecognizable worried look from Naruto. I know, what I'm about to say, will not change things between you, the clan and myself. But now that I know, you don't have to keep it a secret any longer. Especially after seeing the way she changed for the better because of it. I wish for you to come and visit Kasumi-chan any time you or she wishes, and I will order everyone else to not interfere without your permission. Even if we can't be a family like I wish. I don't want to take away what little family you've actually come to accept as such from the clan. She stated, which shocked Naruto. Arigato, Kushina-san, I appreciate that. I truly do, he said sincerely, with a slight bow, which though stunned she returned graciously. And perhaps in time your feelings and views on the clan, your step-brothers and myself will change. She thought with hope. Arigato ka-san. Kasumi almost busted out happily, making all but the Uzumaki clan laugh lightly at her bubbly gratitude. Of course Kasumi-chan, it's what a ka-san is supposed to do for her children. She answered back, petting her daughter's head, making the girl squeak embarrassingly. What will you do now? Tsunade questioned Naruto's group after the laughing SD down. Well, the war is over, so probably go back to Snow Country. Hana stated, looking to her friends for confirmation. Hi. Fighting a war is fun and all, but I'm beat. Anko retorted while stretching with a yawn, emphasizing her tiredness, as well as a few other things, which Jiraiya quickly jotted down into his research notebook. Would you not consider even staying a day in Konoha to catch up? Even if it's just with the Inuzuka clan? Tsunade questioned, hoping that they would reconsider going back so soon, finally being seen after 3 years. Gomen Tsunade, but we really do have to get back to Yuki. The Yukikage may have given us permission to come here, but he would be upset if his strongest shinobi were gone for too long. Naruto stated, making the buxom blonde frown but nod in understanding, especially being a Kage herself. Who is the Yukikage anyway? I mean, a Kage is supposed to be the strongest shinobi in the village along with other qualifications. But if you all are his subordinates, who is he and just how strong could he be? Jiraiya asked, more out of frustrating curiosity rather than information gathering from another shinobi village. Natsumi said with a mischievous smirk, while wagging her finger at him. Now that would be telling. And where is the fun in that NE? She asked playfully, getting pseudo-serious grumbles from everyone who didn't know. When will you leave now for Yuki? Is there enough time to maybe get something to eat as a thank you for helping us in this war? Tsunade asked, hopefully. Gomen, but I don't think that would be a good idea. We are currently waiting on someone to get here before we head back to Yuki. Plus I'd think you'd have a lot of work to do concerning your rat problem back in Konoha. Naruto stated, making Tsunade growl lowly. Don't remind me. I still have to figure a way around this since the entire council was in on this. It'll turn the village upside down if this isn't taken care of quickly. She stated more to herself than Naruto, as she pinched the bridge of her nose in frustration. Before anyone could retort to her situation, they all turned when they heard screaming coming towards them. Damn it, I said to Fing, let go of me. Upon hearing this, everyone's eyebrows rose curiously aside from Anko, who couldn't help but chuckle lightly at the person's colorful vocabulary. A few moments later, they saw Naruto carrying a teenage girl over his shoulder, who continued to curse all the way until he stopped. Gomen about taking so long, boss. She has a mean right hook, and a mouth to match, as I'm sure you heard. The identified clone apologized before throwing the girl over his shoulder and dropping her unceremoniously on her ass. What the hell, you asshole? You could have Fing put me down. She shouted while rubbing her butt, not registering anyone else around her yet. She is your problem now. The clone huffed before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Hey, what the hell is that sup? She yelled before her vision finally registered the people around her and her mouth shut immediately. Well, you were certainly right about her being interesting, Anko-chan. Naruto chuckled, making her look up at the Hanyu. Quote. Nice to meet you, Tayuya-san. Naruto greeting with a warm smile. Ah, yay. She responded awkwardly, at being the center of so much attention, more to the point enemy attention. Okay, Naruto-kun, do you mind telling me why one of your clones brought one of our prisoners here? Tsunade questioned. Well, if memory serves, Anko-chan was the one that brought her in, so she is technically our prisoner. He answered smartly. Don't be a smart ass. She huffed. He chuckled. Very well, it appears that Anko-chan has found a kindred spirit within young Tayuya-san here, and asked me if it would be alright to take her back to Yuki and make her apprentice. He explained, making most who heard him look on with surprise. You realize she is an enemy combatant who worked for Orochimaru, correct? Jiraiya questioned, which Naruto simply nodded. Then you also know she may have vital information concerning any locations and activities that he was working at and on. He asked, with Naruto simply nodding once again. Then you must know that you can't just take her away. We have to interrogate her to get that kind of information. He concluded, only to get a stern look from the Hanyu. That, I'm afraid, I cannot allow. Naruto retorted coldly, making Jiraiya and Tsunade arrow their eyes. You see, if what Anko-chan has told me about her is true, then she was never really loyal to Orochimaru, she was simply surviving. Whether that is true or not, that doesn't usurp the fact that she might have vital information on several of Orochimaru's current experiments, and laboratories which might still be in operation. We need that information from her, and we can't get it if you take her away like this. Tsunade countered, her words making Naruto grunt in annoyance, at realizing one of the major meanings behind her words. Let me guess, you think she has information on the cursed seals that you can use to either turn it into a weapon for Konoha, or to stop the homicidal tendencies of those already cursed like a certain Uchiha, which would then make it a boon for him and Konoha. Am I in the ballpark? He questioned, getting silent curses from Tsunade at his intuitiveness, while Natsumi just smirked on proudly at her student out of it. Among other things, that is correct. I'd rather not have the last loyal Uchiha going on a king spree during a mission if he is forced to use the seal. She answered truthfully. If that is so, then I have a proposition for you. He answered, making her look on curiously. If I can get you all the information she has on Orochimaru and his goings-on, including the method to block out those evil tendencies for the Uchiha, would you be willing to forego the interrogation and allow us to take her to Yuki? Tsunade thought over the proposal for a minute, weighing her options, and finally came to a conclusion. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.